When it comes to working with CSS files in your theme, it makes sense to split up styles into separate files based on certain criteria rather than having one super file. This helps organize things, which makes it easier to find what you're looking for later on, and it also helps themers as they begin to adjust the look of a theme know where they can go. And if you're careful, you can put certain styles in a particular style sheet that include styles that can be changed without causing major havoc on the theme. So for example, taking CSS styles that have something to do with the layout of the theme and separating that out into a separate file that then other folks don't need to touch in order to adjust the look of the theme. And what I'm going to do here is go through the different types of style sheets that you may use in your theme and explain what each one of them is for. And then we'll go ahead and look at some examples in the core Drupal themes, as well as a few popular contributed themes. So first of all, we have our layout.css file. This includes styles that have something to do with the positioning of elements on the site, in particular the large elements, so regions and blocks. The layout is where you would find the positioning styles for the sidebars, the footer, and the header, as well as positioning for menu structures. For the most part, everything that has to do with the look and feel of the site goes into the style.css. This is kind of the catch-all. Anything that doesn't end up in the specific style sheets around it typically will end up in style.css. Print.css is a specific style sheet that gets pulled in whenever somebody goes to print a page in Drupal. So when you go to the print option, it will automatically load in the print style sheet, and that will allow you to override or specify specific layout instructions for that page and specific high contrast colors, for example. So that print style sheet can be very important if your application or your website has very print specific needs. A lot of themes come with a local.css file which can be copied into a subtheme folder and adjusted. This is a standard among subthemes to make sure that you don't override existing style sheet names that are being used in the base theme. Many themes include Internet Explorer specific styles, and the reason why they're split out into separate style sheets is to allow for conditional inclusion of those styles based on the browser. Now, in the past, Internet Explorer specific styles could be embedded inside of a general style sheet, but specific hacks would need to be used inside of that style sheet in order for them to register with only specific versions of Internet Explorer. Instead of using that unconventional code, you can instead move those specific styles into a separate style sheet in order to include it conditionally based on comments inside of a template file. Many themes also include support for right-to-left languages. This means that if the site is printed in a right-to-left language like Arabic, for example, that certain elements are reversed. For example, the sidebar that would normally be on the left should be on the right in order to provide the right kind of focus. The logo, which might typically be in the left, might be positioned to the right as well. It makes sense to move these styles into a separate style sheet because they'll only be included conditionally based on the language that's chosen or the specific language that the site is in. Some themes provide pretty heavy styling on specific elements or specific sets of elements in the site. And these styles might be separated out into a separate CSS style sheet in order to provide more granularity when it comes to editing the style sheets. So for example, a site may have a different structure from a CSS perspective for vertical tabs, and they may want a separate vertical tab CSS file to include all of the styles that are related to that specific element. In order to provide a consistent experience across multiple browsers, many themes will include a style reset, which will take various elements that by default display different in various browsers and make them a consistent look and feel. That way, when it comes to theming, any styles that get added on top of that can be consistently experienced across different browsers. For themes where typography or the font style and sizing is important, those styles might be moved into a separate style sheet, which makes it easier for themers to adjust the look of the font. So this could include line height, the spacing between letters, and things like that. We'll take a look at an example of this in the Fusion theme. Similarly, colors is also a common element that will be changed from one theme to another. And so it makes sense to separate out the colors into a separate style sheet because they're so frequently accessed. In addition to improving the accessibility of these color stylings, it also means that when a themer goes in to adjust the colors on a particular style sheet, they don't run the risk of adjusting other things inadvertently that might be more important to the theme or critical to the layout.